Imagine a little black girl in rags, standing in the rain at the billionaire's car window, looking up with tear-filled eyes and whispering, "Excuse me, sir, can I go home with you?" He laughed, thinking it was a joke until what she said. Next shattered his heart and changed both their lives forever. What happens next will leave you speechless. Stay with us, because this story is going to shock you, move you, and ultimately inspire you. And before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more powerful real-life inspired stories that touch the soul and flip the script on society's expectations. T.G. window emoanient, the billionaire, Damien Holt, wasn't the kind of man you approached lightly. His name echoed through every high-rise boardroom, Wall Street ticker, and luxury magazine from Manhattan to Mayfair. He had it all: jet black suits tailored in Milan, a private jet named after his mother, and a cold heart built from layers of betrayal, success, and an iron-willed upbringing. But on that particular rainy Thursday, as he stepped into his armored Rolls-Royce Phantom after closing a $500 million merger, he had no idea that a single sentence, 6 soft words, would derail his perfect empire. The window rolled down slightly as the chauffeur adjusted the side mirror, and that's when he saw her barefoot, soaked to the bone, shivering in a too small hoodie with holes in it, a little black girl no older than 9. Her eyes weren't begging, they were searching, haunted, as though she'd been carrying a lifetime of pain in her tiny chest. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice fragile, trembling, almost scared of itself. "Can I go home with you?" Damien blinked. His instincts told him to roll up the window, to call security, to drive off. But something about the girl made him pause. Maybe it was her striking resemblance to his late sister. Maybe it was the mysterious scar on her left cheek, or the way she clutched a worn-out teddy bear with hope embroidered across the chest. "What did you say?" Damien asked cautiously, unsure if this was a prank or some sad street hustle. She straightened up slightly, stood tall despite the cold, and said again, "Can I go home with you?" "Please, I don't have anyone." At that moment, the city seemed to go quiet, the traffic muffled, the rain slowed, and Damien really stared at the girl for the first time. She wasn't dirty, she wasn't desperate in the way he'd expected. She looked more broken, and yet unbroken. "What's your name?" he asked. "Trinity," she replied softly. And then, almost as if reading his doubt, she pulled out a folded paper from her pocket, handed it to the driver. Damien glanced at it and froze. It was a letter, handwritten, signed by his deceased ex-girlfriend, Ava Sims, the love of his life who had vanished mysteriously 10 years ago. The note simply read, "If anything happens to me, find Trinity. She's yours." The billionaire's jaw clenched. His hands trembled, and the world he thought he ruled suddenly felt like a house of cards built on secrets and storm clouds. Unlocking. The PS to Damien canceled all his meetings, ordered his jet grounded, and took Trinity to his penthouse overlooking Central Park. But the silence between them was deafening. Trinity wandered through the gold-trimmed halls and the marble kitchen like someone who didn't believe anything good lasted. She flinched when staff approached, refused to sleep in a bed, and lined her shoes at the door like she was ready to leave at any moment. Damien, for all his brilliance in corporate warfare, felt helpless. He had money, resources, lawyers, but he couldn't unlock the guarded look in Trinity's eyes. He needed answers. First, he called his private investigator, Nora Patel. Nora had been with him since college, and if anyone could dig up the impossible, it was her. Within 48 hours, Nora returned with files. Ava Sims had been living under an alias in Chicago, working at a shelter, helping trafficked children. Trinity was born in secret. DNA confirmed she was Damien's daughter. And worse, Ava hadn't vanished, she had been murdered, her body found a year ago and covered up as an overdose. Damien's world spiraled. Why hadn't anyone told him? Why didn't she come to him? And more than anything, who was Trinity running from? That night, Damien found Trinity sitting on the penthouse balcony, her teddy bear clutched tightly. "Why didn't you come sooner?" she asked. "Mommy said you had lots of money, that you had guards, that you'd keep us safe." Damien's throat tightened. He knelt beside her. "I didn't know, sweetheart. I didn't know about you." She looked up. "I know, but the bad men knew about you. They said you'd take me, and use me like the others. But I don't believe them anymore." That was when Damien realized Trinity had escaped. She hadn't just wandered onto the street, she had fled something sinister, something organized, something targeting kids like her, with a chilling clarity. Damien knew this wasn't just about fatherhood, it was about war. And if someone was targeting his daughter, they had just declared war on the wrong billionaire. The hunt began. Damien launched an underground investigation that shook the underbelly of New York. He used every contact from elite cybersecurity firms to ex-military bounty hunters and uncovered something horrifying: a child trafficking ring that operated under the facade of a charity foundation called Haven Hands. It was international, ruthless, and connected to politicians, police officers, and billionaires, including people Damien had shaken hands with. At the center was a man named Victor Lorne, a philanthropist with a clean public face, but a monster in the shadows. Trinity had been housed in one of his care homes, along with dozens of other children. Ava had tried to expose him and paid with her life. Damien felt fury like he never had before, not in business, not in betrayal, but a father's fury. He moved Trinity to a secure island home, guarded by former Navy SEALs. But Trinity didn't want isolation. She wanted justice. She started to speak more, draw more. Her drawings revealed things no child should see: cages, auctions, secret tunnels. Damien handed the images to federal agents, but it wasn't enough. They needed proof. So Damien did something no one expected. He went undercover. He threw a gala, invited Victor, pretended to donate $20 million to Haven Hands, and wore a mic the whole time. What he captured that night was chilling Victor bragging about his influence, his imports, and even referenced the one that got away: Trinity. The FBI raided the next morning. Children were rescued. Victims were reunited with families. Victor tried to run, but Damien was waiting on the helipad. And when he punched Victor in the face and said, "That's for Ava," the whole country cheered. Months passed. Victor and his network were behind bars. Damien's name went from ruthless billionaire to hero father on every major news outlet. But none of that mattered to him anymore. What mattered was Trinity. She no longer flinched when someone knocked on her door. She slept in her own bed. She danced, she sang, and sometimes she even laughed. Damien enrolled her in the best school, gave her her own art studio, and let her paint every wall of the mansion if she wanted. But more than that, he became her father in every sense. He read bedtime stories. He braided her hair, badly at first. He let her scold him when he forgot to recycle. He wasn't perfect, but he was present. One morning, while eating pancakes shaped like teddy bears, Trinity looked at him and said, "Daddy?" He looked up, startled. It was the first time she said it. "Yeah?" he asked. "I'm glad I asked you that day." He smiled. "Me too." A year later, Damien opened a global foundation named after Ava, the Trinity Project, rescuing and rehabilitating children across the world. And as for Trinity, she stood on stage at 10 years old, looked into the camera, and said, "I asked a stranger to take me home, and he became my hero." Never be afraid to ask for love, even when the world is scary. The audience rose to their feet. She smiled shyly and waved. Damien stood behind her, proud, teary-eyed. Because in a world full of boardrooms and battles, he had found the one victory that truly mattered: fatherhood, healing, and hope. And all it took was one brave little girl and 6 words that changed everything. Excuse me, sir. Can I go home with you?